All right, so we're diving deep today into some pretty big pronouncements from President Trump about U.S. infrastructure.
Uh-huh.
And, there's some really eye-catching stuff in here. A huge Alaskan natural gas pipeline and a big push for more of these critical minerals.
Yeah.
So I guess the big question is he actually going to be able to pull this off?
Well, that's always the question, right? I mean, with these sorts of pronouncements, there's always a lot of fanfare and
Yeah,
a lot of big promises, but the rubber really meets the road when you start trying to actually implement these things.
right. And I mean, just looking at this stuff, I mean, we're talking about a pipeline that's supposed to be one of the largest in the world,
Yeah.
possibly with Japan and South Korea each kicking in trillions of dollars. I mean,
Yeah, that's
those were the words that were used. Trillions.
trillions with a T. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to even fathom that kind of money, right? But
Right.
but it does give you a sense of just how important this is to these countries. I mean,
So you're saying it's not just bluster, like there's some real motivation behind these pronouncements.
oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it from their perspective, right? Both Japan and South Korea, they're heavily reliant on imports for their energy.
Right.
And the global energy market, it's a volatile place to be these days.
Yeah.
So if you're a country like Japan or South Korea, you're looking for stability, you're looking for reliability.
So a pipeline from Alaska makes them feel more secure, even though it's thousands of miles away.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can see the logic, right? They're looking at it as a direct link to a politically stable ally.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not a perfect solution by any means, but it's definitely a way to diversify their energy sources.
But of course, there's got to be a downside, right? I mean, a pipeline that size,
Yeah.
cutting through Alaska, it's got to have some serious environmental impacts.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a massive construction project through some of the most pristine wilderness in the world.
Right.
And, the potential risks are huge disruption to wildlife migration routes, oil spills, damage to permafrost, and yeah.
It's a really complex issue.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about this other announcement that Trump made this so-called historic action on critical minerals and rare earth elements.
Right.
So just to remind everyone, why are these things so important?
Well, think of them as the building blocks of modern technology, right? Smartphones, computers, electric vehicles, even a lot of our defense systems rely on these elements.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the U.S. is heavily reliant on imports for a lot of these minerals.
Okay, and that's a problem because
It creates a strategic vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're dependent on another country for something that's essential to your economy and your national security.
and the country we're talking about here is China, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they basically control the global market for these rare earth elements.
Yeah, pretty much. And they've shown that they're not afraid to use that leverage to their advantage.
So Trump's saying he wants to boost domestic production.
Uh-huh.
But the announcement didn't really get into specifics, did it? I mean, how is he actually going to do this? Well, there are a few things they could do. They could streamline the permitting process for new mining projects, maybe offer some tax breaks or subsidies to incentivize companies to invest in domestic production.
Okay.
And of course, there's the whole research and development angle, right? I mean, finding more efficient and sustainable ways to extract and process these resources.
Yeah, and sustainable is the key word there, right? Because if they just ramp up mining without taking the environmental consequences into account,
Right.
then they're really just trading one problem for another.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act. And to be honest, I'm not sure if this administration has the nuance to pull it off.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So to kind of sum this all up, it sounds like these announcements, if they actually come to fruition, they could have a huge impact,
Yeah.
not just within the U.S., but on a global scale.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could even argue that this is just the opening salvo in a much larger power struggle.
Interesting.
Right, with the U.S. trying to reassert itself in this new global economy.
Yeah. And that brings up, I think, a really important question for everyone to consider. How is this going to play out in the relationship between the U.S. and China?
Right.
I mean, if the U.S. starts challenging China's dominance
Yeah.
in this market, how are they going to react?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, nobody knows for sure, but I think it's safe to say that things are about to get a lot more interesting.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but thanks for listening, and be sure to check back in with us next time for another deep dive.
See ya.
Bye.